Hello and welcome to Clamp, the weekly podcast where we discuss all things related to creating, living, and making projects. I'm Grant Alexander, and joining me as always is Morley Kurt and Adam Mackey. And this week we have a special guest. You may know him because he doesn't like to finish his... He also likes to sand in the place. We chose to invite this formerly drunken woodworker on the show, despite the fact that he offended all Canadians by throwing away one of our pennies. We thought, can't we just have a little bit of fun? If you haven't guessed it yet, it's David Picciuto. Check it.
Thank you for that introduction. Can we talk about the penny after my introduction? Can we talk about
you
that?
can.
Sure.
Go
Okay.
into it.
I've had to explain myself many times, and maybe this would be the last time I'll have to explain myself. But my name is David Picciuto, and I have a YouTube channel called Make Something. It's been around for like 8 years or so, mostly woodworking projects. Lately, we've been transforming into kind of some new content territory where we take one thing and then we upgrade it to something else. That's my favorite new thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written 3 woodworking books, and that's it. I'm a wiener dog enthusiast. I love dachshunds. And now that I'm done with the intro, I feel like I need to apologize and explain myself to all Canadians.
It's okay. It was I know the
I
reason.
want to hear it.
Okay.
Oh, you haven't heard it before, Morley? I've heard
No.
it. It's awesome. It's a great reason.
So many years ago, I made a video on making a crosscut sled for the table saw. And there's a trick where you can take a coin and stick it in the slot to raise the crosscut sled up enough where you can glue and fasten the top to the runners. And I pull out some change out of my pocket. I can't remember if it was staged or not. And one of them was a Canadian penny. And on camera, I took that penny. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I threw it and said that was worthless. And then I used a US penny. And the point I was the purpose was not to offend Canadians, but just recently, I believe that Canada got rid of the penny.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my joke, that the penny was worthless. And I believe we need to get rid of the penny as well. But it offended some people. I actually got some mail from Canadians saying, "You Americans are so rude," blah blah blah. And I responded to everyone trying to explain the joke like I'm not a comedian. Sometimes I fail when I try to make a joke, and I totally failed that one. It was not obvious what I meant to say.
Oh, I thought it was great. As a Canadian, I thought it was great. I didn't even know the relation to the penny being useless. I just went, yeah, pennies are worthless. Like they literally are nothing. Like, I don't know. I thought it was great. You didn't need to apologize, but you did say in the pre-show that you only live like 12 miles from the borders.
It's like 30 miles from the border. So I'm really close to Lake Erie, and part of Lake Erie belongs to Canada and part of it belongs to the United States. And I'm only 30 miles from that border.
Yeah.
So sometimes when it's convenient, I consider myself Canadian.
It's perfect. So then you're okay. It's okay that you apologize so much. You got it from us.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Canada is America anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. So we wanted to invite David on tonight to talk about being your own boss, because this is something that David is and that Morley is, and Adam and I really aren't. But we obviously have times where we need to be our own boss around the shop, and we really wanted to have a good conversation with someone who actually is their own boss and can give us some tips, and has been doing it for, I don't know, six years since you went full time.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, probably 6 or 7.
Yeah. So 7 years of being your own boss. I'm sure you've got great tips and tricks and ways to convince yourself to do work when all you want to do is watch the latest Make Something YouTube video.
Actually, a lot of times when you are your own boss, you have to force yourself to sit and enjoy things, because your main concern is providing for yourself and for your family, and trying to figure out and make sure you're prepared in case a recession hits, which, you know, I keep hearing rumblings of. And so there's always worrying. I get I don't get that many questions anymore about starting my own business, but when I first started, I got a lot of questions of like, what do you got to do to get started, like the legal stuff and blah blah blah. And I think my best advice is just start your business. Worry about the legal stuff, the how you're going to ship and how you're going to pay for, like, just get it started. And when when you start making money, then you can worry about your taxes and all that stuff a little bit more. But you it's one of those things, you don't have to have all your ducks in a row. You don't have to have a lawyer. You don't have to have a tax person. You don't have to have all of this set. Just I do suggest, at least in my case, it was easier for me to like talk to a lawyer and say, hey, can you set up the stuff for the state that I'm in? And then they did that, and then I've been on my own. But just if you, especially when you first start a business, you might not be making any money, so you might not even have to worry about taxes and all that stuff. So just get started. Like Jimmy Drest always says, just get started and figure it out as you go.
Yeah, that's a great. I think there was one of the very first, probably in the top 10 making it, top first 10 making it episodes. It was like, just get started.
I think that's episode 1.
It might, yeah. And I remember listening to it, and the next day starting my YouTube channel.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I was like, let's do it. And if I've deleted the first videos, so don't go, you can't find them. But I was like, I'll just take a video, and I did like a time lapse, and I just like put it up there, and I just remember getting like 100 views. So I was like, this is amazing. And now when I get 100 views, I'm like, this is the most depressing day of my life.
Right? There's lots of ups and downs.
All right. But that I remember that was just get started as a great tip. You know, and I think that's a tip that you can even go on a daily level, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be just get started on your grand master plan. But some days I need to just get started, just go out there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's all the more you work for yourself, the more you have time to think, and the more roadblocks you put up. And so I get up in the morning, I'm like, I need to go start this project, or I need to edit, and then I'll easily get distracted with YouTube or the internet or anything. And sometimes I just have to tell myself, stop, just get started. Even when I don't have a direction for the edit, or I don't have the project completely figured out, if I get started, it puts me in that perfect mindset to actually finish the project.
What is the best? How do you, like, just telling yourself just get started doesn't do it for me anymore. It used to.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had those days where it didn't work anymore. You can't convince yourself to go out there. So what do you do?
I think if I have deadlines, I wait until the deadline is almost there, and then it kind of forces me. So, and then when you run your own business, you don't really have a choice. And so if I put myself in a position where I don't have a choice, then I have to get started. If I just sit and watch YouTube videos all day, I'm going to not get this edit done. And then I'm not going to put a video out this week. And then I'm not going to make money, because that's how I make my money. Right. So for me, it's out of necessity. There has to be a need for what you are doing.
Something I found in the last like 6 months, basically. So I was working on making in my videos for the last few years. And then it was really only been since the beginning of 2022 where I've been full-time working at it. And it's been a very steep learning curve of, I thought I knew how to like motivate myself, but when you're doing it every day, I found that kind of changed things a good amount for me. And I find that figuring out the story for the day, not like for in a video, but for like, what is the major thing of today, has become a really big learning experience. So sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be like, I'm going to film this video and I'm going to edit that video and I'm going to do this other thing in between. But then the day will get started and maybe things don't quite go the way I expect. And then I get frustrated because my plan isn't working out the way that I thought it would. And I think in the past, when I've worked for a boss, that didn't matter because the boss would worry about that overarching story. They'd be like, this is the important thing to work on. They have the bigger picture view, but to have the bigger picture view and be the person working on it, I found was like kind of a big shift. And I found that I've had to like kind of just be a little more open and relaxed to things changing a bit and being like, no, that's like, if I work on one of three things, each of them is kind of equal priority. And it's okay if, I'm not in a filming mindset today and I'm more in an editing mindset, and just letting myself kind of discover those stories for the day has been like a really big thing. Like, and a lot of times it's just, I'll plan to edit and build something, but sometimes I just go really into editing and I just need to let myself be like, that's fine. Today's an editing day. Just sit down and just be in the moment and be okay with the fact that you're not doing the other thing that you said to yourself you were going to do this morning.
I am not quite that way. If I find myself waiting to be in the right mindset to edit or in the right mindset to film, that never happens. So I kind of have to force myself. What I do usually is like before bed, I'll just make a quick little checklist of these are the 4 things that I want to do tomorrow. Even if one of those things is just as simple as answering email, it feels so satisfying to click that check when I complete that thing. There's like, I've accomplished something. Now I can move on to the next one, and I get to watch that checklist slowly go away throughout the day. I don't know why that works for me, but it does. There are thousands of books, productivity books written on the subject. And the reason there are thousands of them, because every single person is different. And so I listen to a lot of these audiobooks, and I'll just pick and choose what I like from here and here and figure out what works for me.
Mm-hmm. What app are you using that you're clicking and checking?
I'm on Apple, so I'm just using the regular Notes app. Nothing special. Yeah, I just before bed tonight, I will make a list called Tuesday, and it'll just be like, here are the 5 things I got to do on Tuesday, and that's it.
Nice. Now, one of the things that I know that you've been working on is you have an employee where you have like someone that you schedule in to film, right?
Correct.
So does that help by having like now someone else's time is also on you? Is that really helped?
Oh yeah, it forces me to work. So that help is my brother, and he's coming over tomorrow, and we're filming a video. And as soon as this podcast is over with, I have to finish the design of this project. If he wasn't coming over tomorrow, I would put this design off until tomorrow. And if he wasn't coming over tomorrow, I would film a little bit and then go work on emails or go work on the next project. But since he's here and he's getting paid by the hour, I have to be ready. Otherwise, he's just going to sit there and collect my money doing nothing.
Right.
So it's forcing myself to put me in a position where I have to be productive no matter what.
Mm-hmm. It's nice when there are things that force you to not just like sit there stewing and considering like, what should I do? At least I find that way. Like I can get really anxious and build up a lot of dread if I'm not sure like what I should be doing. But when you have those reasons to be like, no, like that is like your brother coming, like that is the reason I have to work because I need to pay him so that this has to move forward. Then it takes some of the mental weight off to be like, okay, well that's it. And there's no other, considering that I have to do.
It's funny you mention that because whenever I'm cleaning the shop, maybe it takes like an hour to clean up the shop, which I had to do today because every time we start a new project, shop has to be reset to 0, has to be super clean. I can only start a new project when the shop is flawless. And so I'm cleaning up today, and I've noticed this a while ago, but whenever I'm cleaning and I'm just doing something that I don't enjoy and it gives me time to think too much, I just think of terrible scenarios like this my channel's going to crap, and what if this project doesn't work? And I hate cleaning because it just puts me in a negative mindset, and I just think of the dread and anger. I get so angry when I'm cleaning. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today a bit because I was just on like a 3-day family weekend away from any way of being productive. Like I had my laptop with me, but there's almost no point of editing when I technically have the computer that I need, but because I don't have like my monitor and I'm not in the space that I want to be in to be productive, like I'm going to get so little done that there's almost not a point to even start. And I was like, and that weekend is the time when I start like getting anxious about all the things that I have to do in the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, if I was just, this is not a healthy way of, being, but the thought crossed my mind of like, if I just constantly worked, I don't think I would get stressed because I just always be getting things done. it's the in between time.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are paying someone to come by, why aren't you paying someone to come by and clean the shop? If that's the thing you hate.
Well, so there is a reason. So my brother is the one that helps me, and he does clean up the shop when he's here. He's only here once or twice a week.
Right.
But if I did not clean the shop today, that means we would both be cleaning the shop in the morning when we could be filming. Right. And so I want, and we're starting at 9 a.m. When at 9:05, I want that record button on the camera to be rolling, and we should be moving along. So, it's just one of those things. And I mostly film when he's here, but sometimes he's not here. And when I'm by myself, that's when I'm the messiest because I'm just moving from one station to the next, and things get just pushed everywhere. And I always want my shots to be somewhat clean, kind of like the opposite of a Jimmy Dressa. So I'm moving things all off the workbench, and they all go to the table saw or any flat surface. And so things just kind of pile up when I'm working alone. When my brother Daniel's here, he's kind of picking up after me. And there's always a little bit of downtime between takes while I'm thinking or problem solving or designing. So when he's here, I'm so much more productive because he just follows me and picks up after me.
That I work on a race team, and we race BMWs, and I'm the guy who walks around like being the cleanup, so that later, those like memes that they go, 90% of my time in the garage is spent looking for the tool I just put down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the guy who puts them back so you can actually find them. So you don't spend 90% of your time looking for the 10 mil socket. It's back in its spot.
Yeah.
So you're the wife for the race team then?
I guess so.
They put their tool down. Next thing they know, it's been put away when they need it.
That does happen, but they know where it is.
Yes, it does happen. Like I'll be using an X-Acto knife and I'll set it down. My brother will put it away, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I put it away." I'm like, "Never be sorry for putting a tool away, because that's where I should have set it to begin with, because that drawer is right by the bench." So even if I'm going to use it 5 minutes later, I tell him I'm not going to be upset if you put a tool away. There's no reason to ever be upset about that.
Yeah.
Do you think the reason why you're more like productive with your brother there is because he's worrying about camera and setting up the shots and stuff, and that's so while he's doing that, you can put a tool away or whatever, whereas when you're by yourself, that's time wasted putting the tools away while you're trying to, like, you've got to put the tools away and then set up the camera and everything, and I feel like that's where I lose all my time, is trying to set up the camera.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Man, just my brother's not even a camera person. I used to have a dedicated like camera guy, and he worked for local cable stations, and now he shoots NFL football and college football all the time. So that was camera Dan, and now my brother Dan, totally different Dan, works for me, and he knew nothing about cameras before working for me, and all I said, so for the first couple months, I would just kind of direct him like, this is the shot that I want. And now he knows what I'm thinking, and he's just setting up, and it saves me an incredible amount of time. It's plus I feel like, I never said this before and I never even thought about it, but I also feel like I'm performing for him because he is here.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of make it look like I'm professional and I know what I'm doing. He knows that. He knows I don't know what I'm doing. But when there is somebody else in the room, it's also easier for me to talk to the camera because I'm actually talking to him.
We actually talked about this last week because we were talking about like the anxiety of filming in public and all that sort of stuff, and how much easier it is to film when you're talking to someone that's there. Like talking, if you're talking to a camera person, you're essentially talking to them, not the camera.
Yeah. And I hate filming in public. I can't get over it, and I do it every once in a while, and I just feel like a complete idiot. But when somebody else is with me, some of that feeling goes away because I'm like talking to him, and like passersby will be like, "Oh, they're doing something." Where if it's just me, they're like, "Oh, look at that idiot," thinking he's a YouTuber, right?
Yeah, you get some like, whether it's deserved or not, when you have a camera person, you just seem more legit. You're like, oh, they have the resources to have another person there. Well, they must be kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah. Or there's a plan, or just one person with a camera on a selfie stick. You see that all the time, and you just get out of my way.
I don't even like just taking a selfie. Better yet, recording myself in public.
I feel that.
Well, okay. So let's get back to the being your own boss. So we talked about being a boss and how much that has helped you be your own boss. But some of the other things that I think about is like returning emails. And I know I've exchanged a couple of emails with you way back when I bought some plans.
Was I nice?
Yeah, you were very nice. And
okay.
You sent me extra plans for pointing out that the plans on the website didn't match the plans that I got. You'd like updated your plans or something. Anyways, so you were very nice, and then I made the little wine racks because you sent those as a free plan. I was like, sweet. So like, what do you do to like, what's your strategies around doing those tasks that are almost insurmountable, like responding to comments, checking your emails, because you must get thousands of emails and thousands of comments.
It's not that bad. It's not thousands. I think I build up the stress of emails. The made up stress of emails is actually greater than the amount of email stress, if that makes sense. Right? There's only a handful of emails a day. But what I do is I don't stop. I have no notifications on my phone. The only notifications that I get on my phone are from like my security camera here at the house, or my wife is texting or calling. But no Twitter notifications, no email, nothing. And so if I do look at my phone and I'm taking a break and I see that there's emails, I'll just let them pile up and I'll answer them later when it's more convenient for me. Usually like we're sitting down watching a show, or I'm just kind of relaxing. That's like a lot of times when I'm replying to emails, you'll see that it's like 9-10 o'clock at night. That's just because that's my relaxing time. And that's just when I'm ready to answer emails. So and sometimes they build up over a few days. And then when there's like 15 emails to respond to, then it feels like, oh crap, I let them build up and now it's a job. Now I have to set aside an hour to do this.
Do you feel like since like becoming your own boss and going full time and all that sort of stuff, that stuff seems more, maybe not stressful, but more important? Like I feel like now, like comments on my videos, I'm like, I'll get to them when I get to them. Like it's not really that big of a deal. But if it was my full time job, I would feel like it's my job to reply to people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the comments so there are emails and comments that are just like, that's not how I would do it, or this is how I would do it. Or sometimes somebody, I get a feeling somebody comes across my website just Googling how to fix one of their woodworking issues, and they'll see my website. Maybe they'll fill out the contact form. I get a feeling like they don't watch the videos. They just see that there's a woodworking site. Maybe this guy can answer these emails for me. And then there are the people who comment, and I can see repeated comments week after week. When people reference the podcast, or they reference an old video. Like there are people that I know there's a bug flying in my face. I'm not waving at you guys. There are people that I can tell that like really enjoy the videos that I make, and I really want to set aside, and I really want to respond to those comments and to those emails, because those are the people those are the people who are, that's why I'm here. So those emails of and Bob hates saying this, I hate saying this, but the super fans, that's the best word for it. I want to stop what I'm doing and I want to answer them and let them know, like, I appreciate you because I'm here because of you. So it's just the random, like, well, why didn't you do this? Or have you thought about doing this? Those take a back seat and I'll get to them when I need to.
Yeah. I think like for a long time, I was getting like, very few comments and emails. So I would definitely respond to a lot of them. And now things have swung so far in the other direction where it's impossible to respond to any of them with the growth of experience recently. And I think I need to now find a middle ground because I've kind of just been like, well, I'm not going to respond to any of them or very, very few of them, but there's definitely a middle ground to be reached. And I'm impressed with how tactfully you put the getting negative or like off the cuff comments. Cause I'll put it less tactfully from my own perspective. I will get comments sometimes and just be like, how could you possibly think that? Things that are just so out there, so outlandish. And like the person put so little thought into it that it kind of just, skews me against comments in general. Yeah, like the one I put on my story. Like I have people who think like conspiracy theorists about my videos, and that's way way out there. But I should get back to being a little more on it with giving the people who are awesome and really watching it all the time, like the time to appreciate them.
I just watched an interview with Casey Neistat that he did this summer. And he was talking about comments, and there's this phrase that he said that has just stuck with me since I heard it a week ago. Post and ghost. So he posts and then doesn't read the comments because, and he says like it sucks. Like he gets thousands of comments on each video. That's overwhelming. I don't get that. On a day that I release videos, I'll get hundreds, but my videos don't get thousands and thousands of comments. If he was reading them and responding to them, that takes up a lot of time and a lot of energy because comments are good and bad. The more emotional the comment, whether good or bad, sucks some of that energy from you. And so he might respond or read comments for like the first few minutes, and then he's done. He does not go back and look at them. He calls it posting and ghosting. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit lately. But I don't want to offend the longtime people that have been commenting for years and saying super incredible things.
Yeah, Steve Ramsey does the same thing. He does like the first hour of the video. He watches, reads the comments, responds, and then doesn't go back to it. And that's where I go, well, I may not be able to. I've just stopped commenting on a lot of big YouTubers. Exactly, I don't want to take up their time to say good job, right? Like I know it's a good job, like that's why you put it out there. But like it's one of those things. I also go like I don't want to be part of the problem, but I also don't want to be like I want you to read it and appreciate my comment. And if all your I don't want to be part of the giant mountain that you have to deal with.
Here's the thing. I read every single comment. When I've got like I have the app on my phone and I read every single one. I just don't respond to all of them. So right. I appreciate somebody just saying that was a good video. I'm always trying to make a video where people say this is your best video yet. That makes me so insane. If I don't respond to that comment, just know that I've read that and you just made my day because that's what I'm
going to comment that on every video from now on.
I will appreciate that every single time. I'm telling you, it makes my day. And as a business owner, of course, like if you have a normal business where you have a storefront and, here in America, we have Yelp and Google reviews. Of course, you should be reading those comments. You should be reading what people are saying. But when you're on social media, it's a little bit different because everybody feels like they have an opinion and it can be overwhelming.
The thing that I find most impressive and that I don't know if I could do about the whole post and ghost thing is that the people who do that are like so secure in their style and the videos that they make that they don't feel like they need any feedback from comments, which is totally fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And I think like I was alluding to earlier, like a lot of comments are not valuable feedback, but I still find like, people will say things. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like I never thought about that value add about this video, or like, it's really cool to know that people likes a video for that reason. So it would be amazing to get to that point someday where I'm so like, okay, this is what I'm doing. People like it, just keep going. But I don't feel like I'm ready to do that, to just not get that feedback.
Plus, it's entertaining for me to read comments.
Oh.
That is entertainment for me.
So Grant's saying he doesn't want to add to the mountain for you, but in all honesty, that's helping your channel. Like, for the YouTube algorithm, they see people commenting on the video. That's going to help push that video. So yeah,
right.
It could be a burden having 1,000 notifications, but it's also a massive positive. To go back to the Yelp thing you were saying, I don't comment on stuff because I'm that anxious person of like, I don't know what to comment. So I just comment nothing. But we went to a restaurant not long ago and it was so bad. Like Google came up saying like review the restaurant like it does. And I just put like 1 star and they instantly emailed me. And we're like, what didn't you like about the service? And I thought that was so good for the company to actually take that on board rather than just ignore it.
Right. But you can't do that as a content creator on the internet because, they don't know what your total vision is. You don't know if they've been a longtime viewer or just somebody who happened to come across your video and don't know what your goal is. So
exactly.
But that business owner reaching out to you and saying, hey, what did we do wrong? I want to make that better. As a business owner, that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, it was great.
With like comments and feedback, this is stuff that happens on a daily basis. And I find like daily or maybe like every couple of days, these are definitely things I like, bounce off my partner because I just need to talk them out, having some negative interaction with a stranger. So I'm curious, David, what like, as someone who like mostly works by yourself and then has an employee 1 day a week, what is your sounding board? Is it your partner? Is it like when your brother comes in, are you just like throwing all these things at him? What does that look like?
When something really gets to me, I'll share it with my wife. I really
Each Tuesday
don't know.
actually starts at 8:30 with a 30-minute bitch sesh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even saying venting, but I'm saying like sometimes I can't figure something out in my head and I just need to like, talk it out loud. But the fact of the matter is I'm working by myself most of the time. So it's hard to, find a person to do that, whether it be like a text message or
So my, a lot of times we are in our own little circle, our own little space and our own little bubble. And we feel like, I've exceeded what I know about this problem. Like, I don't know how to fix this. And then I'll just mention something to my wife, Kelly, or my brother, Daniel, and they'll have like the simplest solution. And I'm like, you're right. Because I only know this. And I feel like, this it feels like the end of the world. And there was something just a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what it was. It was something like, I don't know how to cut this on the table saw. Like, this is a really difficult cut. And then my brother's just like, why don't you just do it on the router? And I was like, I smacked my head because it was the right way. It was the simplest way, but my mindset was on the table saw. So having somebody else around 1 or 2 days a week, or just having somebody else around in the evening to bounce ideas off is necessary. One of the things, I used to be a web developer. I used to work for an ad agency, and we used to have these brainstorming sessions for projects. And I miss those because it's like 4 or 5 people just throwing wacky ideas, and then you refine them until you get something that works. I don't get a lot of that anymore. And I really, really do miss that. I wish there were more YouTubers here in Toledo that we could just get together at a local coffee shop once a week and just like, vent our frustrations, but also talk about like strategies and things we could do. That would just be really nice to just bounce those ideas off. But we just live in these little bubbles now.
In thinking about that, recently you talked about on Making It that you're taking, I don't know, a course or you signed up to get coached. I don't know exactly what it was from the guy who used to edit the videos for Mr. Beast, if I've remembered all the details correctly. And in that's part of the being your own boss, to bring it in, is investing in yourself. And I wondered what your thoughts were on, you can talk about that experience in itself, or you can talk about more investing in yourself in more general terms, whatever you think makes sense.
So my wife is a speech pathologist, so she has to get continuing education credits every year to make sure that she's up on the latest trends and techniques and things like that. I see myself as the same way. I need to understand new software, new techniques, new strategies, new this and that. And so that coaching was it's Daryl Eves, it's Mr. Beast's numbers guy. It's his analytics guy.
Right.
And it's just kind of what I've kind of learned is my growth from 5 years ago. I was getting hundreds of new subscribers a day. Channel was growing no matter what I did. Those particular types of videos, those particular types of thumbnails, those titles, they don't work as well as they do as they did. Now my audience has changed. YouTube has changed. There's more competition. And so I have to adapt, but I got really stuck in these ways. And I'm like, I'm not going to do the shock face on my video because that's disgusting. That is, and then, you know, as I'm going through this coaching program, you know, we're talking about thumbnails and stuff like that. And it's like, why are you making videos? Do you want people to connect with the projects? Or do you want people to connect with you? And I want people to connect with me. I want people to watch any video that I put out because they like my videos. So now I'm realizing, okay, I need to make sure my personality is in all the videos. I need to make sure my face is in all the videos, whether it's a stupid shocked face or not, which I still have issues with, but gosh darn it, it works. It does work. And I'm learning. I didn't have mystery in my thumbnails. Like, you know, 5 years ago, a year ago, it would be like, we're going to make a desk. And then you just show a picture of the desk in the thumbnail. There's no mystery to that. Plus, there are 100 other YouTubers making desks. So how am I separating myself from them? So now it's like, I have to, not only do I have to come up with a project, but I have to make sure that there's a storyline to a project, make sure there is, like any storyline, there's a conflict. I'm not creating conflict. I'm not making my projects fail, but I want to make sure I kind of leave a little bit of unknowns. Like lately, I've been doing a lot of projects without designing beforehand. So I'm just kind of throwing myself into the fire and I don't know what's going to come up, especially with these projects where I'm taking one thing and then turning them into another thing. The outcome is unknown and it makes a better video.
It's interesting. Like you just made me think. So like you and Bob, I watch pretty much every video and I watch, my YouTube is primarily for entertainment. I don't watch like videos to learn how to do something. I am more interested in the personality and the person and all that sort of stuff. Whereas say Jimmy's videos, because there's not really personality in the video per se, because he doesn't have like the story, it's just a sped up video. I'll go off the thumbnail of like, oh, I'm not really interested in that project and not necessarily watch it. And it's really interesting how much a thumbnail makes sense with that, because I've never really looked into thumbnails and all that sort of stuff of like your thumbnails, for instance. I never really looked at them. I just went to your channel and I'm like, oh my God, like your last 8 thumbnails have like a shock face in them. And I never noticed.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, to kind of go on that, Nerdforge was on a podcast not that long ago, and they were talking about how they won't even they might have a great project in mind, but if they can't think of the thumbnail or the story, they just don't do it.
Yeah.
Until they can come up with a good thumbnail.
That's very common. That's taught a lot in these coaching programs. You have to have the title and the thumbnail first, because if you have your idea for the thumbnail, that means when you go to film your video, that first that first 30 seconds of your video is so important to how that video is going to perform. So that means you can trying to think of the right word, but you fulfilled what that thumbnail was in the first 30 seconds. So having that thumbnail first allows you to make that video.
Right.
Yeah. David, I bet you come across this a lot. I've like, as someone who makes stuff, but primarily makes YouTube videos. I mean, the business is the videos, not the physical products as much. I'm always finding myself like, people will say like, oh, like you should make this, or like, can you make this for us? And it's so much telling people like, no, I'm not gonna make that into a video. No, I'm not gonna do that, because it's very hard to find a good fit between a project and a YouTube video. And there's so many more. This is going to come out wrong, but there's a lot of times when someone is like, "Oh, we could make that." I'm so much more often saying, "But I'm probably going to buy it, because the time that it would take to make that and make it into a video, I'd probably make a much better video if the idea of the project is more geared towards a YouTube video."
Yeah, I go through this all the time. We're having both of our bathrooms remodeled in a couple months. I'm not doing it because my time is better spent doing something else. It would take me 3 months to remodel my bathroom, where it would take it's going to take a professional a week to do or whatever. So, I will buy expensive jigs that I know can be made, but I know my time is more valuable in designing projects, editing videos, and shooting video that I want to do. So I'm trying to avoid the things that I don't want to do. I'm lucky enough in a position where I can just buy those jigs so I can make the things that I want to make. And lately, I have removed how-to language from my videos, except when there's a particular sponsor that I'm doing a few videos with right now. They want me to use some how-to language. So minus those videos, everything else, all the piano restoration, the pizza table, the storage cart thing that I just upgraded, I have removed how-to language, and it's just mostly about, we're going to go on a journey. Hopefully this works. Hang on, because let's just dive in and see what happens. And I'm hoping that these videos will appeal to people outside of woodworking, and I bring in a bigger audience who just wants to see cool stuff being made, and like, what's this dude going to do this week, right? And so if you want to learn how to do something step by step, there's already 200 people doing that very well, better than me. So I'm trying to separate myself from them.
Definitely. I mean, I've put how-to into my titles every now and then just for the algorithm, but my videos have always been like, this is how I did it, not this is how to do it. And I feel like trying to bring in people that aren't in that world. Alex Still for me was always that person. Like, I have no interest in metalworking and forging, but his videos were always so entertaining.
Yeah. He's got a lot of energy. You can tell he is enjoying every single second of that video, because he's doing exactly what he wants to do, and he's not making something that's going to be searchable. He is making stuff that he wants to make, and because he's doing that, he's 100% into the project, and that's the direction I'm going in. I'm going to get rid of the tips. I'm going to get rid of the how-tos, and I know that some people are going to be like, "Oh well, I'll see you later." That's totally fine, because I want to make crazy things, and that's where we're heading.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comments to get is, "I have no idea how I got here, but that was awesome." Like,
isn't that great?
That's so the best.
Well, on that note, I want to say thank you to our patron supporters, because I know how they got here. I want to especially thank the F Clamp level, Brent Jarvis from Clean Cut Woodworking, Vincent Ferrari from Handmade by Vincent Ferrari, Austin from the High Caliber Craftsman, Scott Orem from Dad It Yourself DIY, and Joe Herdina. Thank you very much to everyone from that. You can find the pre-show and after show at patreon.com/clamp. It is like, genuinely, we love the support that you guys all give us. If you can't support us financially, you can just share the show or write a review. And on that note, we're going into Clampmendations. Clampmendations.
I am obsessed with this channel, and I apologize. It's a huge channel, but I've recently discovered it, and I have just been watching video after video going through the back catalog. It is Drew Gooden. Do you guys know who Drew Gooden is?
No.
So
No.
he's just a guy, and he just sits. It's like a commentary thing, and they're various things. Like he has a whole series of videos. Like I bought everything Instagram recommended to me, and then he like will just like rant about the products that he got or how bad they are. He's got a video like how I tried to profit at an arcade, and they're just it's just commentary. It's so good. I don't know how to explain it more than it's commentary on a bunch of stuff, and it's random topics, but I'm obsessed, I'm just going through his entire back catalog. They're so good.
The titles are great. Like it's not the same, but it does kind of remind me of Ryan Trahan titles. And that,
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say the same thing.
I am obsessed with Ryan Trahan as well.
Yeah, that
Same.
He like even his second channel, like he's just really good at talking to the camera. I love how he has a lav mic in his hand, not like underneath the shirt or clipped it, and he's just talking to it like it's a handheld microphone. These I think as a 47-year-old man, I put this block on, like I'm not gonna watch these kids, blah blah blah, and then I removed that filter, and now I'm into Drew Gooden and Ryan Trahan because they really, really know how to talk to their audience. They're really good at engagement.
Well, I can't speak to Drew Gooden because I haven't watched him, but I feel like with Ryan Trahan, it's like he is what is best about Gen Z. You know, like he is like the voice of Gen Z, in my opinion, in a really good way.
For sure. 100%. And he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He is so funny.
You know, it's funny you say about holding the lav mic. For my last video that I had to do voiceover for, I just went into my shop because I use a wired lav mic into my phone and record on there, and then I link up the audio after. I just got my phone out, plugged it in, and recorded my voiceover. It was so much easier than having to set up my computer with my microphone and everything. And I'm like, this is how I'm going to do voiceovers from now on.
So in my last video, I took during the Squarespace ad read, I took this microphone and I used this, and I handheld it and talked to it for the ad read, and it was totally because of Ryan Trahan. I'm like, I just like that. I just like that look because it's like, why are you doing that? And so I did it. Nobody's commented on it, but that's a little behind the scenes of me hand holding a mic.
Nice.
All right.
It sort of gives you, like, you know, that awkward feeling of not knowing where to put your hands when you're recording. Like, it kind of gives you somewhere to put it.
Give you some confidence.
Another thing about Ryan Trahan is he is awkward, but he doesn't hide it. I'm awkward and I try to hide it. And like when he is just like, and he leaves that in there, I'm like, oh man.
He makes it part of his personality.
He makes it part of his personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super relatable. All right. Super quick. Recommend a music artist, JPEGMAFIA. He is a rapper and producer. I feel like everything he puts out is great, and I've especially been enjoying his collaborations with Kenny Beats, who is another producer.
Kenny Beats.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been listening to them a lot while skating, and they just have. So Kenny Beats used to be part of Loud Pack, so he has that like trap sound, that like really heavy hitting bass. So yeah, they're really great, and check them out if you like good music.
There's a Kenny Beats YouTube channel that just pulls clips in from a Twitch stream. Is that an official Kenny Beats channel, or is that somebody pulling clips off of his Twitch stream?
I'm not sure. I'm just on Spotify.
Okay.
Well, my Clampmendation for this week is going to be a 3D printed router lift by USSA. I found it on YouTube, and it's going to be probably the only, but definitely the first 3D file print that I'm going to buy. And it's literally just print all the parts to make your own 3D router lift, because I really don't want to spend $200 on a router lift from these big companies, and there's no cheap version. So it's probably going to be like a 1 year print. There's so many parts, but
Fun. Well, I'm gonna, since we're just recommending ridiculously large channels, I'll recommend the latest video from Mark Rober. I don't watch all of his videos, but this one, a friend of mine recommended I watch it, and it was he was beating the
Treat the
arcade
arcade.
games. Yeah, and the best part about the whole video, and I know everyone loves fails, is when he tries to beat he's like trying to beat a guy who's like really strong at the like punching game, and he can't even beat him with like a hydraulic arm. Anyway, it's really funny to watch. And then he figures out a way to beat him in the end, obviously. So that's the twist. But it was a really fun video. So you talked about earlier, like not going into the how-to. I wish he'd gone in a little bit more about the how-to on the skee ball. Because I went like, okay, so you did, he'd made like a softball pitching thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but how did you make it so that it always goes in the right speed? Did you just do the math, or did you do trial and error? How did you know exactly where to put it?
Yeah.
But no, you've got to buy his engineering course for that.
Of course. I do. Yeah. You've taken it, right, David?
I've taken it. Yeah.
Was it good?
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It actually changed the way I approach projects, because he goes out. It starts off with like, okay, you have a problem, and then it's all like Post-it notes, and you're listing different solutions to that problem. You're also listing your needs, and you're taking Post-it notes, and you're kind of moving them around until you kind of like funnel it down into a project that you can make. That was a terrible explanation, but his course is really good.
Okay. I've thought about it lots, but it's a time commitment.
They are expensive, and it's a time commitment. I will say that I did not do any of the class participation things. All I did was watch the videos. And it's not that particular website. It's meant to be interactive, but I've avoided the interactive part. I wanted to see how Mark approaches his videos. I also bought Casey Neistat's class on video storytelling, which is really good. And then I also bought Simone's class, which I haven't watched yet. So they are expensive, but it's like we talked about earlier, it's that thing where I'm investing into myself. I want to learn how other people create.
On the topic of paying for high level content, David, are you a patron of Van Neistat?
Yes, I am.
Do you watch? I loved his commentaries on the Plum TV shows. I don't know if you watch those.
I have not had a chance to watch much of his Patreon.
I mean,
stuff.
I feel like this is more like entertainment and like voyeurism maybe than like a course, but it's so fascinating to hear about the process for like making their show, and he'll like talk about all the story and the behind the scenes of the business. Like that was fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
you mentioned JPEGMAFIA. Have you been to his website, JPEGMAFIA.net?
No, is it wild?
It's amazing. It is 1997 completely. It's so good. Yeah.
That was the year I was born.
Then you'll love this website.
All right. All right, Grant, take us home.
All right. Well, before we take it home, we're going to do Adam's slang word of the week if he's ready. So every week we do a slang word it used to be only from Australia, but we ran out of words. So now our listeners send in a local slang word, and we have to try and guess what it is and what it means.
Yeah. This week's slang word, which I feel like you might get pretty quick, but I don't know, is from Dean Duplantis, and it is neutral ground.
Neutral ground. So when I think of neutral ground, I'm thinking like the neutral zone where in Star Trek, where the Romulans and the Federation couldn't go between each other. So, it's a ground that we can all agree on is okay. But I'm guessing because it's slang, that's not what it's going to be.
No. I don't think Dean's that much of a nerd either.
I don't know.
Seen all the
I'm
Star
lost.
Wars stuff.
I'm stumped.
You got take a guess. You guys got to guess. You got to come up with
Gotta
something,
guess.
even if it sounds
Oh,
outlandish.
Oh man.
Well, it's from New Orleans, if that helps.
Is it a food?
No, it's not food.
It is a place where you have to keep your shirt on, and there are no beads and nudity.
No.
I'm not going to top that. What is it?
All right. So it is the median or grass area between lanes of a boulevard or large road.
Oh,
Huh.
interesting.
Okay.
Interesting, because
It's very tame.
in Chicago, where gangs are so bad that kids will walk in the middle of the street home from school because one side of the street might belong to. I could be speaking. I might not have my facts right, but I know it's kids will walk in
Interesting,
the middle
though,
of the
yeah.
street, and it might seem to somebody who's not from there very rude as these kids are walking the street, but they're not trying to show any kind of solidarity to any of the gangs, and it's just they're kind of walking on neutral ground.
That kind of makes sense to the word then, like neutral ground, as in this part here
So it
is
could be-
not associated to anyone.
Yeah, between the Romulans and the Federation. So I had it right all along.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it.
Well, I want to thank TF Turning for our
no.
theme. Yeah, I want to thank TF Turning for our theme song. I want to thank David Picciuto for coming on. Thank you so much. Can you tell everyone where's the best place to find you if they wanted to look?
Just youtube.com/make something.
All
That's
right.
the easiest place to go.
Right. And you also have a podcast that you do weekly as well.
Yes, it's with two up-and-coming YouTubers, Jimmy DeRessa and Bob Target from I Like to Make Stuff. The podcast is called Making It. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And now we're going to go into a quick after show because, it's getting late. But
good.
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And until next time, cheers, everyone.
See you.
Cheers.
See ya.
Clampmendations. There's an actual song that plays.
Oh,
Did you listen? This podcast cut out. Did you listen to last week? Because you did like a full Clampmendations, but like you went high pitched at the end, so I left it in.
Oh, damn it.
Every now and then, Grant will do that Clampmendations thing. Like he does it every week, but every now and then he'll do it funny, and I'll just not put the song in and leave his voice in.
Nice, thanks. I don't listen to I don't listen to my own podcast. I've got enough things to listen to.
I listen to like four times.
We'll let you. Do you want to go last, or you want to go first, David?
me?
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go first. My
Okay.